Hi there. I'm here with Eugene Jarecki, and he is the director of the house we live in, or I live in, and it's
we all do live in.
it's a documentary about the war on drugs and sort of how it's not doing very much, right, or doing too much.
It's doing a great deal of harm.
Mm-hmm.
And the war on drugs has, over 40 years, caused an enormous amount of harm to American communities, particularly communities of color, but increasingly minority communities across the country. White Americans who are increasingly meeting conditions of poverty that lead to drug use and drug sale. Gay communities who have found themselves in the same end of that spectrum, who now find themselves targeted by the war on drugs for the association between the gay community and meth use, so that gay people now find themselves as a growing population in America's jails, in much the same way that African Americans once saw themselves, and other groups that have been targeted because those groups are very often seen as undesirable by the power structure. Then one form of law or another is used to hurt them. And the war on drugs has had several decades in recent times of making black Americans its primary focus. But our drug laws in America go back to the 1800s, where we started to put away Chinese migrant workers coming to America who were seen as a threat to American jobs. We put them away for opium use. Even though white Americans were using opium willy-nilly, we put Chinese people away for opium selectively. And we've done this kind of selective, unfair use of drug laws to harass one part of society or another for decades in our history, and we're seeing it continue today. And my hope with the film is to explore that house that I live in, this country, which has a kind of a sinful secret unfolding in it, and to do so in a way that wakes other people up, as I've come to be woken up, about the dangers to all of us of this kind of abuse of power and law.
And for the gay community specifically, could you talk more about how meth affects, it seems like there's definitely meth use in, the cities and also in the heartland, but are they putting people behind bars in the Midwest, just for being associated with meth use and maybe being associated with being gay?
Well, drug laws are imprecise, so they're used to be a kind of a wide dragnet that can catch up people in it and make way with those people with their civil liberties in ways that were not available before. And so I think what you see with the drug laws is that the gay community is simply experiencing what black Americans and other minority groups in America have experienced before, which is arbitrary laws not based in science, not based in medicine, very often deeply contested laws by judges and other experts in terms of the validity of the sentencing being handed out. And so you find white meth users in this country now being put away for sentences once reserved for deeply violent crime. There's a character in my film named Kevin Ott, who's an inmate living in a penitentiary in Oklahoma, in rural Oklahoma. He is in for life without parole for the possession of 3 ounces of methamphetamine. When you meet a person who will never leave prison because of the possession of a substance that they were using on their own body, you have to ask yourself, the guy in the cell next to him committed murder and will be out before him. So what kind of a society are we if we've come to the point where we are punishing the nonviolent for something a chemical they take that they didn't get from a doctor, for punishing that person more than someone who's murdered a loved one, who's raped somebody we know, who's robbed from our home? It makes so little sense that you have to ask yourself what causes this to continue. Why would anything like this perpetuate?
And it seems like the drugs can be a third rail of politics, and so as gay activists are sort of ramping up for marriage equality, and other minority groups are also pushing for, standard, most of them have their rights already, but the trying to take on the drug war seems pretty difficult. What would you recommend?
Well, I think it would be very dangerous for gay activists to ignore the power of the drug war and its impact on gay Americans, to undermine their efforts in other areas. So, for example, the pursuit of gay marriage can be deeply undermined by allowing the drug war to continue to cannibalize gay Americans and put them in jail for several reasons. If you're put in jail, your conjugal capacities are reduced, your ability to marry is reduced. So first of all, you're losing part of your population who could be eligible for the very desirable gay marriage goals that we all have. Now, at the same time, that community that wants to pursue gay marriage, to say, well, we only should focus on that because they want to spread ourselves too thin. I understand the knee-jerk reaction that would contain that. But if part of your society is in peril in such a significant way as the growing numbers of meth arrests and meth incarcerations in the gay community reflect, what you'll have is, sure, you'll make gains in column A while you make deep losses in column B. And I think unless they're held hand in glove together, you lose the critical mass as a population. You start to fracture internally that you will need to get things that are so necessary and fundamental as gay rights in marriage and other areas.
Okay, thanks so much, Eugene.
Thank you very much. It was good talking to you.
Yep.